We're in. For home. For favorite spots. For taking the scenic route. For taking good care. We're in. For big surprises. For new possibilities. For good times. Every year, 100% of profits stay here in Atlantic Canada. We're in for supporting things like healthcare and education and giving back to our communities. Learn how at askaway.ca.
Some plan to relax, and others look for adventure. But no matter your reason for visiting, one thing's guaranteed. From the moment you step on this island, you feel a little lighter. Come find your island, Prince Edward Island.
Table tennis competition live at the 2023 Canada Winter Games in beautiful Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I'm Robbie Doherty. I'm going to be calling the action here. Brought to your beside me, I have Ivy Liao, manager from Team BC. So we have an expert here on the call, knows all about these games. Good afternoon, Ivy.
Hi, Robbie. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, you've no idea how excited I am to have you here. This morning I did not have a color commentator, and I must admit this is my first time seeing the sport in person. And boy, oh boy, my eyes have been opened. These are athletes. They are in tip-top shape.
Yes.
And the precision they've shown for their age, it's been something spectacular. Just talk a little bit about the sport and what we can expect here to see in the action coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So here in the boys team final, we have top-tier athletes, many of them, if not all of them, on the Canadian junior national team. So very experienced athletes, both on the court and just being athletes in general. And I think we'll have a really good matchup here.
So much more. Like I can't. One theme I've noticed all week is that the word athlete is thrown around, and these are definitely athletes here. These aren't just table tennis players, if you will. They're athletes. This is a full 12-month training regime. You can see big noise from the crowd. You can see the competitors coming in. Team Ontario taking on Team Quebec. This is team play. Can you explain a little bit about what team play is in table tennis?
For sure. So a team play is basically 5 individual matches, but combined into one team match. So first we'll see a doubles match between the 2 athletes from Quebec and the 2 athletes from Ontario, and that will be the first of 5, potentially 5 matches. And then that's followed by 4 singles matches. And so ultimately, each individual match is best of 5, and as a whole, the team match is best of 5. First team to win 3 individual matches wins the team match, and here, the gold medal.
That's right. So you mentioned that. So we're starting off with doubles. So Joachim Domel from Quebec teaming up with Siméon Martin, and they'll be going against Jordan Gruel and Kevin Guo from Ontario. So that's our first match. Second match will be Jordan Gruel versus Siméon Martin. Third, Kevin Guo against Joachim Domel. And then coming up after that, if necessary, we will see 2 more singles matches playing the opposite opponents. So lots of action in store. We had some great competition earlier. I had the pleasure of doing 2 team matches so far. I had the pleasure of doing the men's game this morning between Nova Scotia and Manitoba. Great game. Manitoba was pretty dominating out there. And then in the afternoon, we had Ontario against your team, BC,
Yes.
in women's action. Another great game. And some great up-and-coming athletes we talked about from BC, just 14 years old this afternoon. So athletes of all ages. So what are the age groups here in table tennis? Is it U19? Is there different divisions? Take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so there are. Here at the Canada Games, it's U19. So there's no minimum age, it's just the maximum age of 19, which this year I believe is 2004 being the oldest year. And otherwise, here we have Team Quebec. Otherwise, other age categories that are participated in Canada and internationally, here's Team Ontario, is U15, that's the cadet age category, U13, which is the hopes category, and then above U19, we just have the senior category where it's open.
So lots of different age groups here. We talked about on the earlier on the broadcast. We heard from speaking of the 14-year-old. So she'll be eligible to come back to the next Canada Games. So what an opportunity for her to come get this experience. We've talked about it all week. It doesn't matter what sport you're doing. Canada Games is different. It's bigger. There's more atmosphere. You look at the capacity crowd on hand today. You see probably 50 athletes up there from Quebec. So I see some PEI jackets, see some Saskatchewan jackets, and they're all from different sports. The lights are a little bit brighter. We're live on CBC Gem. It's just a little bit different. How can that affect these athletes' focus going into a huge gold medal match like this?
As you said, the Canada Games are very special. For many of these athletes, it might be their first multi-sport competition. And on the Canadian national stage, being on CBC Gem with cameras surrounding the court, it might be new for them. However, I know on Table 1, the 4 athletes we have today are no beginner to international competition, so they have different experiences that are also equally as valid. However, this will be a special moment for them, and I'm excited to see how it goes.
You're certainly no slouch yourself in the world of table tennis, playing on Team Canada, I believe, at the Pan Am Games.
Back in 2019. Yeah, so that representing Canada at the Pan American Games in 2019 was my first international multi-sport games experience, and I really see that kind of reflected in the athletes here today, and the awe of seeing the other athletes compete, just interacting with them, learning their stories, and competing myself. It's very special to represent your country, represent your province. And there at the Pan American Games, I was able to win a bronze medal in the women's team event with my teammates, and that is one of my most cherished table tennis experiences. So I think just being able to compete in games like these, very special, and it's very difficult to make it to a finals. So these athletes should be so proud of themselves, and I hope they're able to play their best here today.
Well, you said the word best, and I'm glad you did it, because that sparked my mind here to bring up one thing. We are seeing the best of the best today. We have seed 1, seed 2, seed number 3, and seed number 4 on the court today.
Exactly.
So take us through that a little bit and where these players.
So from Quebec, we have the top 2 seeds, Simeon and Joachim. They are seeds 1 and 2, very experienced, evidently. And then from Ontario, we have seeds 3 and 4 in the event. We have Jordan at seed 3 and Kevin at seed 4. Kevin was also Team Ontario's flag bearer at the opening ceremony just a few days ago. So very accomplished athletes here, very experienced on the Canadian and international playing field. Yeah.
So we can expect the best of the best here
Yes.
this afternoon here. Wow, that is exciting. You brought up the opening ceremonies, and what a night that was. I had the pleasure of calling it up in the booth live on CBC Gem, and it was so neat to see. I am an Islander. I live in Charlottetown, and just seeing the whole country under one roof was so special, and great entertainment. Seeing the different provinces coming in, waving their flags with their sound, their noise makers, some had cowboy hats on, some had some face paint. It was just so special to see. We talked about the difference between Canada Games and some other events that these players would play in, and that is so special. And just seeing the whole atmosphere here at these games is so awesome. Just just as a fan, I'll admit, I mentioned earlier in this broadcast, today was the first day I've ever seen the sport in person, and I'm a huge fan. I can guarantee tonight I have an 8-week-old baby at home, and I give a lot of bottles at night, and I do a lot of night feeds. We're going to be watching table tennis tonight. I can guarantee you that. And so get ready, YouTube. We're going to be looking that up. So we're getting a look at the court here now. There you meet the players. Jordan Gruel from Ontario. They have a 2-minute rally just to get warmed up and kind of feel each other out. Take us through that. I'll be the first to admit, this morning I thought the game had started, but they're just kind of getting loosened up, sort of getting a feel for the conditions and the table and that sort of thing, correct?
Yeah, so at the beginning of every match, and you'll see that here for every individual match within the team match, they start out with a 2-minute warm-up, which is just casual. Both sides are getting a feel for the ball and the table and the environment. And in the doubles, it's often just rallying. They switch from forehand. Sometimes the person in the back is looping, whereas they can kind of switch from blocking to looping, just getting a feel for the ball and environment in general. And then in singles, sometimes they switch to the backhand side. And so it's up to the athletes what they want to do during this time.
One technical kind of point I noticed is that on the serves, I noticed a lot of it's all about spin, and in my mind it was they want to make the ball spin back or for different reasons, but a lot of the time it's to make their opponent return tougher because if it's backspin you got to put topspin on it to get it back. But we're underway here. Point number 1 here, this gold medal match here in Prince Edward Island, the team final. So Quebec on the board first. How important is it, Ivy, for a team to either have the serve or be receiving the serve? I'm assuming most teams would want to serve it themselves.
Yeah, so that's actually a really interesting point. You usually have an advantage when you have the serve because you're able to control the trajectory of that point, how it starts, and then you can set yourself up for different shots depending on what you decide to serve with. However, at the beginning of the game, if you notice, there was a coin toss, and that determined who got the first serve. And so oftentimes athletes want to serve first. However, because the format of the game is 2 serves each, sometimes athletes specifically choose not to start a set with the serve so that they could have the serve if it were to go to 9-9.
So it's all preference?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And if it does get to 9-9, they go 1 serve each, correct?
No. 9-9 is still 2 serves, but once it gets to 10-10 and above, which is deuce, then it would be 1 serve each. That's correct.
3-2 the score now, Quebec with the early lead. How important is it in table tennis to get on the board first and get out to that early lead?
I think like any sport, table tennis, the mindset and the mental game here is very important. Different athletes, like any important match or any match in general, an athlete's kind of how they're feeling and can really make a difference in the outcome of the game. So generally, starting off strong is very positive. It's really hard to claw back when you're down. And so a good start, I think, is always preferred so that the momentum can just keep going.
Yeah, that's a great point. Nice shot there by Ontario to Quebec, tie things up here at 4. So if this is a preview for what we're in for, we're going to be in for a good one today. These guys are pumped.
And this was a matchup that already occurred in the group stage yesterday here at the Canada Games, and there Quebec came out on top. And so it'll be really interesting to see the outcome of the match today.
Quebec was victorious in that match, correct?
Yeah.
So Ontario will be out for redemption. Just what you love to see here.
It was really close, though. 3-0 was the ultimate team score. However, the individual matches, 3-2 in the doubles, 3-2 in the first singles match, and then 3-0 in the doubles, excuse me, and then 3-2 for both singles matches. So I think it'll be really interesting today.
Yeah, we talked a lot about at the top of the broadcast. We mentioned how these are athletes who play table tennis. They're not table tennis players. And with that, we talked about the 12-month training program and traveling that these athletes would endure, but a big part of that training has got to be mental training. So there must be some sports psychologists on the coaching staff and that sort of thing to keep them kind of in the zone if things aren't going their way early. Talk about that a little bit and how important that element is to their training.
Yeah, a common kind of saying that is commonly shared is the higher the skill level is in the sport, the more important the mental game becomes. And so here at the Canada Games, especially, all of our teams have mental performance specialists and coaches that are supporting the athletes throughout the games. And in general, athletes are always working with their coaches and their communities to make sure they're in tip-top form, not just physically, not just skill-wise, but also mentally, because when games get tight or when they're very nice rally there, when they're playing against opponents that perhaps they've played very often or they haven't played in a while, each match, the mindset you go in is very important and in determining the outcome. So mental performance, definitely very important. And we see both teams here coming out very strong, very aggressive. And I think all of that stems back to how much they want that gold medal.
Good point. So here you see it 10-8. Any surprise in that score out of the gate?
No, I think this matchup is quite close. Both teams have had lots of matches over the past few days, so I'm sure that they're more accustomed to the playing environment now. I know sometimes on the first day, important point here. Now we're tied at
10-10,
deuce.
we're at deuce. Here we go,
So
right
now
off the
it's
bat.
one serve each, yes.
As a table tennis fan, that's what you want. Close and admittedly as a broadcaster. Here we go now, Ontario with the serve. Not able to keep it on the table, so Quebec looking to close this game out. Martin with the serve. So here we go, 11-11, back to deuce. Great crowd on hand here at the Prince Edward Island Convention Center, located at the Delta Prince Edward by Marriott. Taking in the action, wow. Little different energy here today than this morning. There's lots of people all gathered around, very engaged in these two games. Where this morning there was lots more games going on all over the room, so it was a little bit spread out. But this afternoon, this is where everyone is gathered. So there we go, 12-12. We could have a dogfight on our hands, Ivy.
Yeah, and I think here, especially when it's tight, the service is very important because you really want to control the point and be able to, oftentimes the strategy is to attack first so that you're able to be aggressive, and being on the passive or the defensive side is never easy because you're just reacting to the opponent. So you see a lot of short serves, a lot of downspin, which is what Simeon just served. And here we are, deuce again at 13-13.
So Guo with the serve for Ontario. Back to deuce. Ontario trying to close this one out, but so far not able to. So we'll see how Quebec responds.
We're back at 14-14, and if you've noticed, the past few points, whoever has served has won that point. So I guess that speaks back to the importance of having that serve and being able to control the point after serving. Oh.
Puts that one away for Quebec. Martin. So take us through a little bit of that, what just occurred, a little bit of
It looks like
questioning
the
from the
discussion there was whether the ball touched the table or didn't. And oftentimes this is a common point of controversy because sometimes athletes or surrounding coaches and umpires see the ball hit the table, but sometimes they miss it. And so it looked like this time it did hit the table. However, sometimes when people on the court aren't sure, it can be a difficult situation.
So, the intensity is building.
Yes, it
1-0.
really is.
There you get a look at Team Ontario gathering with their coaching staff, making a plan here to come out and try to tie this match up at 1. Doubles action here, men's. We're back now with the action. Team Quebec taking on Team Ontario here in the gold medal match for team play in table tennis. Quebec out to a 1-0 lead.
You really see a lot of diverse skills here. You saw Joachim with that backhand serve just now, while a lot of the other athletes are using forehand serves.
Ivy, a question I have is, and I kind of asked this earlier this afternoon, but didn't quite get into it in detail as I had hoped to, but wow, what a point. This is wild. The women's game versus the men's game, it looks, nothing to do with skill, but it just looks different in terms of, it seems like the men are a little further back. Am I off on that, or is that accurate, or?
Generally, at higher levels, yes, that's pretty accurate. A lot of females like to stay close to the table and rally at a very fast pace, whereas a lot of, on the male side, there's a lot more counter looping, which is when they're a bit farther from the table and countering each other's power and spin. And I think because of the power game is a lot more used in the male field, and so being a little bit farther from the table gives the athletes a bit more time to react and also use time to their advantage when they're a bit farther.
Another note I made was a lot of times in doubles you see them kind of congregate at the table before each point, and they put their hands underneath the table. Is that some kind of communication between the teams?
Yes. So hand signals are often used right before the serve. So you can probably see, nope, not just there, but usually, because there's different serves athletes can do in the doubles game. So sometimes they signal whether the serve will be short or long, whether it'll be bottom spin or top spin, or sometimes no spin, and sometimes whether they want the ball to be half long out the side of the table or out the end of the table. It really is all communicated through hand signals that these athletes establish with each other. And so I think that's really cool how they're able to communicate and succeed from that.
So 8-3 the score now. Ontario bounces back after that first game loss, trying to tie this match up. 8-4 now. Ontario doubling up on Quebec here in this second game of this doubles match. Quebec with the serve. Not able to touch the table. 9-4. So Ontario 2 points away from closing this game out. What are some areas around the world where table tennis is big?
Big.
We see it everywhere recreationally, but on more of a competitive sort of high performance level.
Ontario with set 2 right there. In regards to competitive table tennis, it's big in many parts of Asia. So at international tournaments like the Olympics, the World Championships, you often see China and Japan out on top. However, table tennis is also very popular in Europe. Countries like Germany, Austria, Sweden, lots of top players from there, and they also have many professional leagues where athletes are able to essentially make a living off of playing table tennis full time, which is a great opportunity. And we have a lot of athletes from Canada who have gone on to play professionally in Europe, and they've always excelled on the international level from that.
Oh, that's excellent news, and I'm sure that we're going to see some of these athletes one day, at least, maybe if not professionally, at least make the jump to international competition representing Canada, like yourself at the Pan Am Games and perhaps the Olympic Games and those big competitions. So 1-1 the score. If you're the coach from both teams, what are you telling them now?
Ooh, a mixture of strategy. We see Coach Maxime here being very passionate about his recommendations to his athletes. And I think here, with the score at 1-1 and the doubles being such an important match in this team final, just continuing to likely find ways to control the rallies and be able to execute shots that you want rather than purely reacting to the shots of the opponent. I think that's pretty important here.
You want to control the game.
Yeah,
correct.
Definitely.
So 1-0 the early score for Quebec early in this game. Great return there. What a rally back off the table. What a shot there by Ontario. 1-1 the score. Well, this match certainly isn't slowing down. The action, the intensity picking up here with every point. It's Quebec, the serve. Not able to make it back, so 2-1 Ontario now, jumping ahead. Ontario once again.
You often see a sorry or like a apology from athletes when they win a point off the ball either hitting the net or the edge, and we see a little bit of that throughout these past few points.
In my very, very, very limited and small table tennis career, usually played in a garage or a basement, I hate when that happens, when it goes off the edge, so I can understand why. And it's great to see at this level, too, that, I'm sure table tennis is like most sports where at the top level, the athletes are competing against, the same athletes kind of at a lot of different competitions. And with social media now, you become friends and you chat more. So great to see such sportsmanship in the game here,
Definitely.
along with the skill.
Yeah, I saw these 4 athletes actually just chatting throughout the competition so far, and they've played each other a few times already throughout the past few days, and so it's great to see the sportsmanship that's there and the friendship, because they're really no stranger to each other's games and have traveled together, competed against each other. So
well, yeah. And backtracking to what we were talking about earlier, representing Canada on the international stage, there's a good chance. I mean, these are the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds.
Yeah,
they're going to be teammates someday. So starting to build that camaraderie now. 6-3 Ontario leading this game. 1-1 in the match. A little bit of a stop in play here, Ivy.
Oh, we have Jordan here stating that the ball hit his racket twice, and with honesty, that was a point to Quebec.
Oh, once again, demonstration of sportsmanship. What a return there. Wow, what a point. Won by Quebec. Ontario. They go up 7-4 here in this game. Certainly a huge game in this match. Now you don't want to fall behind and leave that all-important third game up for grabs to go ahead 2-1 in the match.
And this set is crucial. Being up by 2-1 compared to being down by 1-2, big difference in the mental game. And just, yeah.
How does the mental game change based on the score, based on the settings? I mean, obviously, the sort of generic answer is just taking it point by point. And, but
it's hard
looking
to do.
past that, I know it's easy to say that. You're going to read that in every sports psychology book you ever read. But at the same time, how do these athletes implement that? And they must have to train and work at it over and over and visualize and put themselves into situations where they know that, they're going to have to be a little bit more mentally tough than at other times. And it must take a lot of work and preparation by these athletes.
Yeah, it really does. I've had coaches tell me, wow, what a shot there. I've had coaches tell me that it's so important to train as if you're competing, as if you're in an important match. And that's something I personally have implemented and have seen a lot of other athletes implement. And I really see in the training hall how serious they are when they're practicing, how much they're wanting to and determined to improve and be on their A game, especially here at the Canada Games. And so here at 10-6, Kevin with the serve.
Not able to return it, so Quebec lessens the lead. Now trailing by 3 here in this game. Ontario looking to close it out and go up 2-1 here in this match. Oh, not able to. So a little bit of a comeback happening from Quebec.
10-8. Here we have a towel break. Towel breaks are allowed every 6 points, and so that's why you see the athletes going to the towel box periodically.
Ivy, I learned something earlier.
Okay.
I asked Erica on our previous broadcast why they go up to the net and
Oh,
put their hand down. She said that could be to wipe the sweat off
yeah.
between those towel breaks.
Yes, that is true. What a rally.
That is something special. There you have it. So Ontario with a 2-1 lead here in this match. A reminder, it's a best of 5. So first one to win 3 games. Each game going up to 11 points.
And back to your point earlier, Robbie, being up by 2-1 versus down by 1-2, that mental game, it really depends on the athlete. And I think these 4 athletes are very experienced, and so I think approaching this next set, this 4th set, they need, in my opinion, they need to be able to ground themselves and not get carried away by the score. Oftentimes, if athletes get too focused on the outcome, for example, winning or losing this set, and what happens after, it can be distracting and take away from their focus on the here and now, what's happening, and the strategy that their coaches are recommending they implement and what they've prepared for. And so I think just being present in the moment could be something that's very important to all 4 of these athletes right now.
Focusing on performance, not outcome.
Exactly.
That's a huge, huge, huge thing to keep in mind here. So great to see. We have talking about it earlier on the broadcast. My good friend Pastor Phil at Cornerstone Church I attend. His nephew is competing for Team New Brunswick, celebrating his 13th birthday today. So athletes of all ages. I know what I was doing at 13, and it wasn't competing at this level. So maybe on Super Nintendo. So DeMille serving for Quebec, kicking off this 4th game.
And that was a perfect example of using a serve to set up your teammate.
Obviously, Coach Maxime talked about that in the break. Kevin Guo now with the serve. Puts it over.
Strong start from Quebec here.
They certainly seem to have regrouped there. Kind of what we were talking about, that mental toughness. Getting themselves, you mentioned it, grounded and back in peak performance mode.
Wow, what a shot.
Out of play. Ball rolled up just beside me here, Ivy. Wasn't sure if this was like baseball where you keep the ball and take it home or no. Play there by Ontario. Going up 3-3. Talk a little bit, Ivy, about your experience thus far here in Charlottetown for the Canada Games. Obviously, you know, a lot more than table tennis happening. I believe 19 different sports, over 2,000 athletes, 5,000 volunteers putting these games on. What's your experience been like thus far?
It's been an amazing time so far. The environment here is electric. At the Village, the athletes are just so inspiring, I think. Just being here at the venue and also just seeing all the athletes at the Village has been very special. Also, the volunteers here have been amazing, just absolutely amazing. I've had various questions that I've approached them with, and I've always gotten the answer I was looking for and more. And so very grateful for just the experience so far, and I know so much work has gone into it. So the athletes have been having a great time, and it's a lot of work that's come to this.
And for the athletes too, we talked about it earlier, this is much more than just a nationals or a competition. It's a chance to make friends and make memories. And you know, I said in the last broadcast, you never know when you're going to get back. And this might be the peak of some of these athletes' career, and they want to make the most of it and take it all in. Certainly looks like they are doing that. 6-5 now, Ontario, looking to.
Wow, what a shot.
Quebec not backing down. We're deadlocked at 6 here in this fourth game. Ontario leading 2-1 here in this doubles match. So there you have it. Comeback complete. They go ahead 7-6. That all-important number 11. Getting closer, both teams. What a rally, wow.
We have those counter loops we were talking about earlier, building off of each other's power, and that is very incredible to see.
So Gruel with the serve. Great return there. Not backing down as Quebec. They go ahead 9-6 in this game. You talked about their last meeting here in doubles being close. Doesn't get much closer than this.
Wow.
And there you see Kevin Guo trying to spark some momentum for his Ontario team right back. So that puts Quebec at 10, one more point, and we are going to sudden death game.
They
Ontario.
always say,
No, you go ahead, Ivy.
they always say the rally's never finished until the ball hits the ground or the back of the net, and the set's never over until 11 is hit by 2 points. So comebacks are frequent. Every point really matters.
Great capacity crowd on hand showing their appreciation for these athletes. Quebec not able to, or excuse me, Ontario not able to get there. That'll do it. So we are deadlocked at 2 in this match. The crowd is on their feet here, cheering on, showing their appreciation for these athletes. We are tied at 2. The gold medal match. Both teams in their corners once again, talking things over with their their support staff. The anticipation is building from both sides. You see them there. So we have the gold medal match here. Deadlocked at 2. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It's the Canada Winter Games.
City lights will guide me as I go. Will the sun come up? Guess we'll never know. Whoa. When I'm with you, it's like starting new. It's like starting over again. Squeeze and pull my trigger, let it loose. Dancing just to be cool.
Welcome back here to the PEI Convention Center in downtown Charlottetown. Our continuing coverage here of the 2023 Canada Winter Games. We're live here on CBC Gem, as well as canadagames.ca/watch. If you're just joining us, what a game it's been so far. We are deadlocked here at 2. The deciding game coming up here between Ontario and Quebec. Ontario with the serve. They're leading 1-0 here in this fifth and deciding game. They'll head up 2-0 as Quebec not able to respond to that serve. So here we go. Martin now serving for Quebec. And there you go. You talked about it earlier, Ivy. You said how important it was to be able to control the game with the serve in Quebec. Once again, all 3 points go to the team that was serving.
Wow. What
Mind
a rally.
We were laughing during the commercial break. For those at home, I had to take the headset off and Say to Ivy that it's too bad there wasn't a camera on me because my jaw has just been on the floor since this match started. It's incredible to see the skill here of these young athletes. Quebec with the point there, 3-2 now the score here in this fifth and deciding game. There it is, into the net. The crowd is just thrilled here. They can't believe what they're seeing. So 4-2 to score from Ontario. What are your thoughts so far, Ivy? You think these teams are out to win, or?
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd pick up my sarcasm.
all fifth set matches are very difficult to play. So here we have 5. We switch sides. When one side hits 5 during the fifth set, and looks like we have a timeout for Team Quebec.
That is good to know. This is actually my first time commentating a game that has gone to a fifth game. So very interesting to know. You're learning something new every day, or excuse me, I'm learning something new every day. Thanks to your guidance. So there you see them just having a word. What kind of talking points would they be making as coaches now? Just very simple things, stay in the moment, stay focused, that sort of thing, or drawing up, where they want to keep the ball on the table, or?
Probably a mixture. Each coach has a different coaching strategy, and the 2 coaches here are very experienced. We have Coach Chen Hongtao from Ontario, who just recently coached at the Commonwealth Games in 2022 and the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. And we have Coach Maxime on Quebec's side, who has coached at multiple Pan American Games, Commonwealth Games, just very experienced coaches here. And so various things from strategy, where to place the ball, what they should do on their sides, what serves to do. It really varies depending on the coach, the situation, and the athletes. And these coaches know their athletes well, so I'm curious as well what they were saying. 6-2.
You mentioned, or excuse me, it might have been Erica who mentioned this in the last broadcast, but these athletes are probably training 7 to 8 times per week. Would that be with a coach, or is there a lot of kind of singles practice, or take us through what a practice week might look like?
Sorry, I got distracted by the amazing rally there.
That's okay.
Yeah, so these athletes are devoting a lot of time to training on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and it really depends. There's various types of training. Ontario up 8-2 now. There's private training, which some athletes do with their coaches one-on-one. There's also group training sessions where athletes train with each other. Lots of high-performance athletes have this as their preferred flow method of training, because playing styles really vary, and just being able to be exposed to a wide variety of playing styles is very beneficial, especially in competition settings. As we can see here, we have 4 exceptional athletes here, but 4 different playing styles as well. And so being able to practice with different playing styles in those group training sessions, very beneficial.
That's a good point. I haven't heard that made yet today. Take us through that. What would be some examples of playing styles? Power versus spin, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So even just something as simple as Kevin being a lefty,
Yes.
is very different. And those who don't have as much experience playing against lefties might be at a disadvantage. However, it looks like Quebec has been holding their ground. And yeah, for example, we've heard that sometimes all 4 athletes here have an aggressive attacking style. Oh. Wow, what a rally.
Yeah. Almost back at the backboards. It's wild.
It's like the court's not big enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's literally what I was thinking. You take 10 steps back and you're in the audience.
It really looks like table
And
tennis.
And the game must have evolved over time. 50 years ago, perhaps they weren't so far back. Maybe they were. I could be wrong, but I'm sure that, technology and the equipment has changed and that sort of thing. And you got to wonder if there'll ever be a time where they will change the distance. Oh, we have a ball on the court here from the women's game beside us. Ontario also taking on Quebec next door in the women's competition. So we have a timeout. 10-6. Great match so far. The fans know it. I had the pleasure of calling some skiing as well on the weekend, and two of those events were aerials in Big Air. We don't have a freestyle program in Prince Edward Island. So I was saying how neat it is for us as a province who are hosting these games to get the opportunity to be exposed to sports that we don't get to see very often. And we do have table tennis here, but it's certainly not on the level that it would be in Ontario or Quebec. And just looking around, we're a very small province, obviously, and the old saying, everybody here. Well, that's pretty true, and I'm looking around, seeing a lot of Islanders out supporting this event, but also taking interest in the sport, and that's got to be so important for the growth of the sport in Canada.
Definitely. Table tennis is not as popular at a high level in North America, so it's great to see it growing.
Sure is. Off the net there, not able to hit the table, so Quebec within 3 now. 10-7, Ontario leading here in this deciding game. Into the net, so here we go. Momentum perhaps shifting. It's got to be a different feeling knowing that your back's against the wall. You cannot give up one more point. That's got to add some pressure.
Pressure on both sides.
Mm-hmm. And there it is, into the net. Ontario victorious here. They defeat Quebec in this opening match of the team play, the doubles. You talked about them facing off against each other earlier in this competition in the individual events in doubles play, and it was Quebec being on top, but this time Ontario getting the best of Quebec. Is that what you anticipated, or any surprises? What did you see in that doubles matchup?
Yeah, I think it's these two pairs' fourth time playing against each other this tournament so far, and Quebec has come out on top, won gold on the boys doubles event, and also won in the boys team event in the group stage. So this was surprising. Good on Ontario.
Singles coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's the Canada Games. Well, welcome back to our coverage here of the Canada Winter Games here on CBC Gem. If you're just joining us, it's the table tennis team play. I'm Robbie Doherty alongside Ivy Liao. Ivy with Team BC here. She's a team manager, so happy to have her expertise on the commentary. It's been so exciting here thus far to take all this action in. We just witnessed Ontario down in Quebec and to open this team play matchup in the doubles. Take us through a little bit. Was that a surprise or just a well-played game by Ontario and they got the job done?
A well-played game from both sides, I would say, but Ontario definitely finished very well during that match. Fifth sets, as I said earlier, never easy, and they can really go either way oftentimes, and so very impressive of Ontario to stay aggressive, stay in the game, and take it and now Ontario leads 1-0 in the large team score, and we'll see where the rest of this goes.
You mentioned before the broadcast, before this game started, that in this doubles game, or the first doubles game, we literally had the top seed, the second seed, the third seed, and the fourth seed. So we know that's correct. But I get the feeling, and keep in mind this is a very amateur opinion, there's not that much of a difference between number 1 and number 4. Like they are seeded, but they're all neck and neck, and could down each other on any given time. Am I close on that, or?
Yep, very close. Looking at the rating points here, it looks like Simeon is on top with 2,800 rating points, whereas the other 3 all have a rating of 2,300 approximately, which is very remarkable. So you can see how close the skill level is between the players here. And you bring up a really good point. So Ontario just came out on top, but they're the seeds 3 and 4 in the men's singles competition. So good on them.
Even the practice rally here, we talked about it earlier. Before each match, they have 2 minutes to warm up, feel each other out a little bit, get used to the table, get used to the playing conditions. We see that going on now, but even just watching this back and forth, this is going to be, as we say in PEI, a dandy.
A dandy.
No, Dan.
Dan.
Soften that A up.
Dandy. Thanks for the coaching.
Hey, I'll get you through it. PEI, we're pretty soft on our A's.
Noted.
Oh, that's what's special about the Canada Games. Canada's a huge country and it's fully represented, but we are underway here in men's singles action. It's Jordan Gruel taking on Siméon Martin from La Belle Province in Quebec. 1-0. Gruel opens the scoring now for Ontario, getting off to that early lead. We talked about how important that was earlier, just to get on the board, get the monkey off your back, if you will, and get a little bit of momentum going. There's Martin now with the serve. So again, Gruel not able to touch the table. A point for Quebec. One point I wanted to bring up to you, this kind of crossed my mind earlier, and you're 22 years old, so you're not certainly not in the twilight of your career yet. You still got some great years to play. But I'm sure you've been around the game for the last at least 10, 15 years, say, hypothetically. How has technology changed the way that table tennis athletes train? I mean, even not just from, physical equipment, but the development of social media. So perhaps you now get to see your opponents as opposed to just hear about how great, this athlete is from Saskatchewan or Manitoba. Talk about that a little bit and how that's been able to elevate these players, get better, and just keep getting better.
That's a really interesting question there. Even from the equipment, a lot of the equipment the athletes are playing with, the technology is very recent. Even if you take a look at Jordan's racket there, it's not round, it's a hexagon shape, and that's a very recently released racket that a lot of top athletes have been experimenting with, and it's been really cool to see this new technology and creative technology that's been changing the game. And aside from even physical equipment, we have a lot of video analysis tools that are coming out, and also something as simple as, in the past, the side of the courts would have tripods and cameras surrounding it from various athletes who want to study their opponents. But now with the popularity of streaming and, for example, just this opportunity to have this match live streamed on CBC Gem, athletes are easily able to access recordings of their opponents' matches and analyze that accordingly. So just the accessibility of
being able to
tennis.
Just do some research, exactly.
Yeah.
See some research, do some research on your opponent, see their styles, and
I think that's really made a difference. An amazing rally here.
this is just wild. If you hear me, stay silent. It's not that I'm not going to take the big one or anything. I'm just literally watching in awe and seeing
We're
this.
speechless.
We are lucky enough to be literally right beside the table here at the PEI Convention Center at the venue. So a ringside seat, if you will. 7-7 now the score. Quebec tying things up. Once again, we are in for a barn burner. I was very interested to hear your answer on how technology has changed. And one thing that popped into my head when you said that is the hexagon racket.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thought or the science behind that? How is that different than the traditional table tennis racket?
To be honest, I don't know the details and I haven't tried it out myself, but I've chatted with people who have tried it out and they say it's heavier and there's more surface area. So I think, I'm very interested and excited to try it out sometime, but yeah, I don't know the details behind it, to be honest.
Siméon Martin, nice cross table there, so he's up 9-7. Looking to close in that magic number of 11 to take a 1-0 lead in this match. Great patience there shown by Jordan Gruel. Big serve here from Ontario. And there we go.
9-9.
10 seconds after I say that, we're deadlocked at 9. So you just never know. But another thing you can certainly notice here, these athletes, these competitors, they're going head-to-head right now, but they have the utmost respect for each other. You can certainly tell in the way they're approaching each point. Into the net. So, chance to close this first game out from Siméon Martin from Quebec.
Wow.
Into the net.
What a backhand.
So, to deuce we go. 10-10 the score. A reminder for those just joining us, perhaps new to the broadcast, new to the sport. We should remind you that you do have to win by 2, so we'll go 1 serve each. We'll go until we have a winner, so Quebec with the early advantage. And getting the serve, that must be a huge point for Siméon Martin to get the serve back.
Definitely.
And there it is, so Martin, 12-10, he'll take the first game in this match. A reminder, it is best of 5, so first one to win 3 games will be victorious, as you see both teams now going to their respective corners. One question I have, and this is strictly a team game question, is there's got to be some strategy go into who goes on right after doubles, because if they're playing a doubles match, there's a huge difference for these athletes, or excuse me, there has to be, from going right back out there onto the court versus having that break to get a little bit of rest, get some water, maybe a little bit of nutrition, and gear up for, if they're, say, the third game of the team match. Is that something, or is it predetermined who plays who, or is that a coaching decision?
So lineups depend on the format of team play.
Okay.
So this time at the Canada Games, they implemented something I knew that I actually haven't seen before, but because there's 2 players here with doubles starting out first, there's one team, so Team A, who has player 1, their higher ranked player, play matches 2 and 4. So it'll be doubles, player 1, player 2, player 1, then player 2. And then on the other side, it would be Team B, who has their players play in the order of player 1, the higher ranked player, then player 2, then player 2 again, and then player 1. So it's actually predetermined, the order, depending on whether or not you win the coin toss at the beginning before the team match begins. Yeah. However, oftentimes in a strategy that I've seen a lot of coaches and athletes prefer here is to win the side of Team A, so that their higher ranked athlete can play match 4 if the team match goes to 4. And because match 4 is where the higher ranked player on Team A plays the second ranked player on Team B, usually
So you want to make sure that
Team
you're
A
leading.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you don't, okay, I got you.
Yeah, because going to the 5th set is difficult. Going to the 5th match in a team match, also very difficult.
So that adds a little bit of strategy into the game as well, which is very interesting. The team portion of this sport is so neat to me, that you see a little bit of everything. And the cool thing that I like is whoever wins this gold medal today, whether it's Quebec or whether it's Ontario, they're going to earn it. They're going to deserve it. There was a doubles
Definitely.
match. If
Yeah.
it goes all 5 matches, they all played each other. There's no excuses. Whoever gets that gold medal around their neck, it was their day.
It really was, and this is both teams' second match of the day. Both teams already played intense semifinal matches earlier today. Ontario played against British Columbia, the boys from my province, and Quebec played against Manitoba. And I believe Quebec won 3-0 in their semifinal lineup, whereas Ontario won 3-1 and lost the doubles initially. So these boys have had a long day, and they, as you said, Robbie, they will be very deserving of the medal, regardless of whatever color it is on their necks at the end of the day.
Yeah, we talked about it so often that, the Canada Games, it's not just about the sports.
Yes.
It's about creating memories and creating making friends and networking and just creating lifelong memories. These only happen every 4 years. 7-3 now, Quebec leading Ontario in this game. You can hear the noise in the background from the women's game also happening over there, also Quebec and Ontario. Lots of excitement in the air, you can just tell. When there's hardware on the line, it's big.
Simeon comfortably pulling ahead, now with a 10-4 lead.
Certainly not the first time, I'm sure, that these two athletes have locked horns.
Oh, yeah.
No. So there you see it, 2-0 now. Quebec jumping out to a lead here in this matchup. First singles matchup. Ontario took the doubles. If you're just joining us here on the broadcast. Get a look there at the Ontario corner. Coach keeping it loose. Great camera work by our crew all week. Big thanks to them. Bringing you the action across the country here this afternoon on CBC Gem. Very exciting stuff. So here we go. Third game setting up. Should be very, very exciting. We've talked about, obviously these athletes are all Canadian in the Canada Games. But, excuse me for a second there, I just had someone passing me a note. But, these are all Canadian athletes, so obviously there's a lot of competition in Canada. But how often would these athletes travel outside of Canada, perhaps, out of North America to go overseas and play new teams and get more experience? Is that something that they do? Would they travel to different countries, sort of thing? And I know it takes money and time, but talk a little bit about that. If any of the top athletes just maybe aren't getting the competition locally that they're needing to get to that next level, how far are they willing to go, and how far do they go, and how often?
That's a great question. These athletes, the fact that they're here definitely shows that they are the best in their province. And so, great point. These two athletes on the court right now actually do travel far and wide to get the experience and the training. They have experience to get where they are today. I know that Simeon trains very often in Europe, is what I've heard, and Jordan often goes to the States, the United States, down south to train and gain experience against different players, learn from different coaches, and just play a lot more matches that perhaps the community back home in Canada might not be able to provide.
Well, the old saying, it takes a village.
It really does.
And it really does. You see a lot of the parents in the crowd and family members making the trip, and big nod to them for not only getting them involved in the sport, but the sacrifice that it takes for them to bring them to practice, get them up in the mornings, picking them up, taking them there, dropping them off, feeding them. I can assume that these athletes have to stay well fueled, so those aren't cheap grocery bills. And
definitely. And something about table tennis in North America is that there aren't many school programs that these athletes have access to improve their table tennis skills. And so parents really do play a huge role in the development of these athletes. And so I know my parents have put in so much to provide the opportunities I've had, and I know it's no different for these athletes here today.
Give a big shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Liao back in Vancouver. I'm sure they're tuned in. Excuse me, Vancouver. working on my West Coast. Yeah. I want to say hello to everybody actually tuned in from coast to coast here on CBC Gem. Great action thus far here. It's so exciting. Quebec up 2-0 in games here in this first singles match. Jordan Gruel taking on Siméon Martin. Ontario was victorious here in the doubles match, so looking to tie things up in the match, bring things to 1-1. There we have it. Action is back on here. Great serve there by Gruel, but puts it in the right spot as Martin not able to return it. So 6-4 now the score. Quebec. Into the nets. A little bit of a comeback now from Gruel.
And these athletes are making it look so easy, but there is so much spin and so much power on these shots. It's remarkable.
Off the net, not able to keep it on the table, so 7-5 the score. Is there an off season in table tennis? That's a question I was thinking about earlier. Is it a sport that might potentially, you'd play it for, take hockey for example, traditionally it's played September until say April, and then you take the summers off, you go play baseball. What about table tennis? It's an indoor sport, so it must be something that they have the opportunity to do all year. Is that correct?
Yeah, these athletes are training all year round. It definitely is an advantage to be an indoor sport, and also it doesn't require too much space. Obviously, we see these athletes here moving far from the table. However, a lot of the skills can be developed close to the table, so it's quite an accessible sport, I would say. And our Canadian national championships usually happen around summertime, so July is common. However, a lot of international competitions, such as the World Junior Championships, happens late in the year, so around late November, early December, and so really it's almost always go time. So it's really interesting to see how athletes and their coaches and their support teams navigate being in peak form when it matters the most.
Want to give a big thank you to Thorsten here. He's on site, Thorsten Hines. He's one of the nicest men I've met in my life. I got to say, I had a great chance to chat with him this morning over breakfast. And you can speak more to his position, perhaps, with table tennis in Canada, but he seems to. Oh, and there we have it. Quebec putting away Ontario here in the first singles competition. We'll get back to Thorsten in a moment, but so there you have it, tied up at 1. From your playing experience, your coaching experience in the team event, where are they at? Where are their heads at? Obviously, if you're Quebec, you're probably the favorite coming into this, perhaps just based on the seedings. Ontario, you're maybe not the favorite, but you're certainly capable of winning and trying to focus on performance. 1-1. It's
1-1.
It's very back and forth, and certainly high level, and both teams coming out with, as we say on PEI, guns a-blazing. And take us through that now. How important is this next game? It's 1-1. We talked about it. You don't want to be going into that fourth game down 2-1. So what are these coaches telling their athletes now to get ready for this all-important third game?
Well, these athletes are no strangers to each other, and so likely something along the lines of be confident in yourself, try to play your best, play your own game, and not be controlled by your opponent. Those are words commonly said to me in these situations, and so perhaps that's what's going through these athletes' minds today. And so now we have Joachim, the 2nd seed, playing against Kevin, the 4th seed in the tournament, and Simeon just now, not a surprise, he's already taken away 2 gold medals at this Canada Games. First on day 1 in the mixed doubles event with his partner Alice, and then yesterday Joachim and Simeon, or yesterday, 2 days ago, took home the gold medal in the boys doubles event. And then on the other side, Kevin and Jordan with the silver medal in the boys doubles event, Kevin with the silver medals in the mixed doubles event. So all of these athletes have already been on the podium multiple times. And so here they are trying to add to that collection.
I'll never forget, I believe it was 3 years ago when they made the announcement that Canada Winter Games are coming to Charlottetown, and they were talking about what to expect, festivities, concerts, opening ceremonies, that sort of thing. And when they talked about sports, I believe it was the Premier said you're going to see the best of the best. And he was not lying here this afternoon.
Here they are, yes.
They are seated 1, 2, 3, 4 here in this team competition, but we're deadlocked at 1 after 2 games, and it's been back and forth. So we'll see what happens here. Get ready for the pregame rally here. Now, let me ask you this, Ivy, as somebody as experienced in the sport as yourself. Do they just go out here and just kind of hit the ball back and forth, or is there etiquette? Is there a plan to how they do this practice rally? You know, give your opponent a chance to have some backhands, some forehands. And
The etiquette is actually really interesting. It's not something we think about very often, but you see now Kevin looping. So he's putting more power on the ball where Joachim, on the other hand, is mainly blocking. And now the roles are switched. We see Joachim putting more power into the ball and Kevin blocking. And that's usually the pattern. So we start off with forehand to forehand. One person loops and the other person takes turn looping. And then we switch to backhand, same pattern. One person practices looping first and then the other person switches in. And then 2 minutes are up before we know it. And here we are. Match begins.
So there you get a look. Our third match of the day, singles. It's going to be Kevin Guo taking on Joachim Dumel from Quebec. We are underway. As great rally to kick things off. They're not wasting any time. Trying to go back corner, unable to. First point on the board for Quebec. Back at it now.
What a shot.
Quebec taking that early 2-0 lead. You know this is going to be close. These two athletes. Great back and forth action. Demille now with the serve for Quebec, leading 3-0. Not able to return that, so Ontario answers back. They're on the board here first. Kevin Guo. Certainly a little cooler in here this afternoon, anticipating bigger crowds. I think they might have turned up the air conditioning a little bit and keep the comfort level happening, but so great to see a capacity crowd on hand just cheering on this sport. In baseball, we hear a lot about coaches talk about they prepare their batters differently to face a left-handed pitcher. We talked about earlier how Kevin Guo is a left-hander on the table tennis court. Tell us a little bit, does your training switch for that? Do you make any adjustments in the way that you approach a match? Or do you just have to kind of go with the flow and keep your eyes on that ball the whole time?
From my experiences, there isn't a lot of specifics about how to play against left-handers. I'm personally a righty myself, so playing left-handers are a challenge for me. However, just finding opportunities to practice against lefties is often very beneficial. And also, as we have backhands and forehands, it's essentially the same types of spins, just inverted. So a forehand on a righty would be, the ball would spin a certain way, and that would be the equivalent of a backhand from a lefty at a player who's a lefty. So ultimately, there are some adjustments to strategy that need to be made and are often made. However, the ball can only spin so many ways. And so we usually just adjust based on that.
So here's Demille now with the serve. This game deadlocked at 5. Quebec getting that all-important lead here. Looking to go ahead in the match. 2-1. shot there going back corner of the table. Set up here now. Kevin Guo with the serve. So neat at these games as well, Ivy, to see the different skill sets in every sport. You know, you look at hockey or wheelchair basketball or figure skating, speed skating, where physical strength is so important. And then looking at a sport like this, table tennis, aerials, skiing, like, it's not that you don't need physical strength, that's not what I'm trying to say, but just a different, curling, it's more focus, it's precision, it's hand-eye coordination. It's so important. It's just such a great demonstration of all the sports and different ways that athletes need to train to be in tip-top shape no matter what sport they're playing. There's a big 10-6 lead for Quebec.
Definitely, in these aspects of physical fitness, nutrition, strength and conditioning, mental performance, it all works together and adds up to the athletes that the amazing athletes that we see here right now. Set one to Joachim.
And there's Dumel. He wins the first game, 11-6. So Quebec with an early lead here in this match. 1 game to nothing. You see some quick chats there with the coaching staff at the back. Making a plan, getting set for the remainder of this battle. And that's what it's been, as a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever have any speedometers on the table, just seeing how fast that ball is going? Because I can't believe how fast it's moving. And not just that. I mean, we see, super high speeds in traditional tennis or baseball or what have you, but it's from such further distance. Like, that table can't be any more than 8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just putting it back with ease. Recreational table tennis players will say in the basement or the garage, once every match they get that one lucky smash where it's up, and where these athletes are returning it 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's just wild to see. And you look at boxers and how they train on the speed bag and that sort of thing to develop that hand-eye coordination. That must be so important in the sport.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen speedometers used often to measure speed of table tennis shots, but I think that data would be really interesting to look at.
Ivy, I'm just trying to throw anything at you here, just to put you on your toes.
I think different perspectives are so interesting, though, because you have knowledge about so many different sports, and I think we can all learn from the different pools of knowledge out there. What a shot.
And I think that's an add-on from what we talked about, how special these games are. It's not just a table tennis competition. It's a full sport competition.
And just chatting with my roommates back in the dorm. As a team manager, I'm living with Team BC coaches and managers from other sports, and I've learned so much about sports, including speed skating and wheelchair basketball, because my roommates are on the staff of those sports. And I think you're right, Robbie. That's really a big aspect of what makes these games so special.
And a great chance to just showcase the different skill sets, that happen and that occur in every different sport that we see here. I had the pleasure, Ivy, of working on the broadcast crew as a spotter at the 2018 Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, and I was strictly doing curling. And in South Korea, curling is certainly not as popular, on a mainstream level as it would be here in Canada or in some parts of Europe. But it was great because, the local fans and spectators wanted to come out and see it. It was a chance for them to see a new sport. But now, that was 2018, so this is 5 years later, you're really starting to see these teams from countries like Korea, Japan, China, in Asia, learn the sport, and not only getting good, but getting really good and competing, winning world championships, not just being there. So You talked about the sport being, or excuse me, table tennis being huge in Asia and Europe. There's no reason why it can't be here in North America, and it certainly, I mean, from an amateur opinion, looks like we're getting there.
Talent is here.
The talent is here.
Yeah, and I think that really just speaks to the importance and the power that being exposed to high performance sports and these opportunities can be. What a shot.
So 8-2. Kevin Guo going on a bit of a run here. 3 points away from that all-important 11.
This really shows how quickly momentum can shift within a match. We had Joachim come out on top on the first set, and now Kevin's leading 9-2 in the second.
Talked about mental training quite a bit earlier. On a physical training level, what would be some key points that these athletes would really focus on? You know, from somebody who's very new to the sport, I'm looking out here, obviously quad strength, leg strength, core strength, very important. Is there anything I'm missing? Obviously speed and agility, some cardio, especially if you have multiple matches in a day, that sort of thing. Take us through what a physical training regime might look like for some of these athletes.
So strength and conditioning is definitely an important part of being a high-performance table tennis athlete. And so some of these athletes are working out at the gym multiple times a week, 3-4 times a week, to improve their physical fitness. And a popular quote about table tennis is that it's like running the 100-meter dash while playing chess at the same time. And so, physical fitness, a big part of it. And also, because there's so many, Kevin taking the second set there's so many different aspects to the sport. There's speed, of course, as we can see here. There's power, there's spin, there's placement, and all of these, it's so difficult to think about all of these components all at the same time and work with it to turn things to your advantage, even in the middle of a rally. And so physical training and just being able to keep up, being able to, we talked about taking control of a rally, but being able to physically do that with your skill and with your physical fitness, it's not easy, especially in a field like this. And so we can definitely see all of the hard work that these athletes have done to prepare for these games and just to come to where they are today as athletes. And I think that's just very impressive.
And on top of that, you add all the, we'll use the word distractions that the Canada Games provides in media, lights, TV, you know, that sort of thing that these athletes aren't used to. So you have to be ready for a marathon all week.
Yeah, we walked in this morning and we saw all the cameras and just the media that was here today. And I remember stepping into a similar environment when I competed at the Canada Games back in 2015 and being quite intimidated because it wasn't an experience that I was familiar with. And however, when I was coaching my athletes earlier in the day during their women's semifinal match, I told them, inside this box is all that matters right now. And so these athletes right here are doing an amazing job of being able to focus on what's at hand, being in the moment, as we talked about earlier. And this is some amazing table tennis that we're seeing.
Would this be, or sorry, I'm going to start that again. I'm looking at this table. Is there one kind of size regulation, regulation size in table tennis that never changes? Does it? Sometimes we'll see in hockey there'll be an international size ice surface sort of thing. Are there any difference in table sizes, or?
I know there are a lot of specifics about table sizes and then height of the net. I know there are also sizing. I know there are at least recommendations for the court size. I know that at international tournaments, they're often a bit bigger than what we're seeing right now. However, I think this is a pretty standard size for most domestic, if not even most international competitions.
And I'm going to assume that these aren't your run-of-the-mill kind of department store table tennis tables.
Definitely
these are top
not.
of the line.
Exactly.
What would make, is it maybe the wood that they're made from, or just creating that consistent hard feel, or?
I think just the technology, as we talked about earlier, tables have also come a long way. If you take a look at the net right there, the tension on that net is actually quite strong, and that's how
it's meant to be.
Yeah, whereas if you go to a lot of recreational places, a lot of basements have table tennis tables, community centers, you often don't see that same standard. And so, yeah, I think, sometimes we're invited as athletes to play recreationally, like sometimes outside on park tables, and it can sometimes be a challenge for us athletes because we're just not used to playing on stone tables or nets that are made of that don't have tension and are just a block of some material.
Looping down in the middle, yeah.
So it's pretty interesting, and yeah.
6-1 the score here, Ontario leading here in this game. Match tied at 1 game apiece. A little bit of momentum building though for Joachim Demille from Quebec. 2 unanswered points. Let's see if he can make it 3. Great return there, Chow. Whoa, forcing Demille to go back to the forehand, and he gets that one. So 7-2 the score. Nutrition must be so important in the sport as well. I mean, goodness, I'm hungry just commentating, and I'm sitting in a chair all day seeing some of these same athletes whose game I broadcasted not 2 hours ago, sort of thing. So, as a team manager, that must be a big role for you, trying to make a plan before the event to try and tackle any distractions that might come up. So eating time, so just eliminating any extra thought that you might have to make that week. So that must be a big part of your job. Is it just to kind of plan out their day, what time we're meeting, how we're getting there, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so at competitions, things like bus schedules, meal times, very important for any athlete. And as a team manager, I know the challenges of being an athlete. They have enough to worry about when they're on the court. They have enough. They must be so exhausted. The days are long here. And so I've just been trying my best to make sure that all the other factors, as you said, are taken care of, and that the days can go as smoothly as possible so that they can just focus on playing their best when they're on the court.
That's a great point.
Wow.
Great shot there by Guo.
It's pretty interesting. We see Kevin really favoring his shots towards Joachim's forehand in these past few rallies. And so that's an example of various strategies that coaches and athletes can identify during matches and implement.
Looks like the women's game next door is wrapped up. Try to get your results from that if we can.
Looks like Ontario won the gold medal there, so we'll see how it turns out here on table 1.
So there you have it, 11-4. The final score is Ontario goes up 2-1 here in this singles match. So the all-important third game coming up. Kevin Guo, Joachim Demille. What does the rest of the week look like for table tennis?
Yeah, so the athletes still have a busy few days ahead. Tomorrow, the singles competition starts for both the men's and the women's fields. And the group stage starts tomorrow. And then on day 6, is that Friday? Yes, Friday. The singles competition will wrap up with the last medals awarded in the table tennis events. And yeah, the athletes will have completed 4 events for all of them. And they'll have a rest day on day 7 of the games here, and then we'll be flying home or getting home on Sunday.
So there you have it.
Joachim with the serve.
Point there by Team Quebec.
You can really see how much this match means to these athletes on the court right now. The focus here is incredible to see. And the celebrations after the point. Wow.
And you can see the intensity building as well. That's we started off intense, but it's getting even more and more. So here we go. Kevin Guo looking to respond. Yet to put a point on the board here in this game. So 3-0 now, Quebec. That all-important serve. Kevin seems a little bit shaken up compared to the last set. Tell me, how often can that happen in a standard match?
To be honest, common. It's hard to be down, as we talked about earlier, in terms of being behind in score points. However, it's also so difficult to be ahead. And so as Kevin here leads 2-1 in the set score, momentum has once again shifted, and Joachim has a early head start here with a 5-0 lead in game 4. 6-0 now. A common change in momentum, or something that often contributes to that, is how aggressive the players are. So in this set, we notice that Joachim is attacking a lot more, and that often comes by how they set themselves up with the serve or the service receive. And so it's very interesting to watch and see the game play out.
What a rally. Wow. Camille going back corner. Guo not able to get to it. 7-1, the score. Once again, so the momentum certainly in the side of Quebec for this game. It's off the net at a play, so point going to Team Ontario on that. Not going to see any better than that around here, are you? Mm-hmm. No. So impressive there. Guo and DeMille going back and forth in a slugfest here, to say the least. So 8-4, closing the gap a little bit. Ontario at least cutting that lead down. Let's see if he can keep this going. Guo could end this match here if he wins this game, but trailing 8-4. To Joachim DeMille.
A really interesting thing that might be on a coach's mind around this time is timeouts and when to use them. Oftentimes when an athlete is leading in a set, coaches are thinking, what ifs? So what if the opponent starts to come back? When should I call the timeout to stop that momentum from building up?
It's a great point.
We have a discussion here about whether or not that serve was a let serve, or if it hit the net. It looks like it did not.
Had Erica Ans on the broadcast this afternoon from Nova Scotia. She was telling me that she is going through the final training stages to become a Blue Badge official. Wow. Have you ever done any officiating in your career at all? Or?
No, I have not, but Erica is a role model for many Canadians. She's played such an influential role in growing the sport in Nova Scotia and across the country. Just last year, I was at the Pan American Championships in Santiago, Chile, and she was there as an umpire. And so it was really great to see Canadian representation on the international stage, not just from the athlete side, from the coaching staff, but also officiating the matches.
She was great to talk to. Really enjoyed having her on the broadcast. We're going to take a quick break here, everybody. If you are watching, you are in for a dandy. We are dead locked at 2. Don't go anywhere. It's table tennis live from the 2023 Canada Winter Games. We'll be right back.
We're in. For home. For favorite spots. For taking the scenic route. For taking good care. We're in. For big surprises. For new possibilities. For good times. Every year, 100% of profits stay here in Atlantic Canada. We're in for supporting things like healthcare and education and giving back to our communities. Learn how at askaway.ca.
Welcome back here. It is the 5th and deciding game of this second singles match of this team competition. Here in table tennis today, we have the men's here. Gold medal on the line. Quebec and Ontario. Seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4 on both teams. It doesn't get any better than that. Literally. So Ontario out to a 2-0 lead. Joaquin DeMille now. Oh, doesn't quite get over. I had my eyes on that one. Nearly got away with it, but that cuts the lead in half. So Quebec down 2-1 with that all-important serve.
So much power in that counter loop there.
That must have been a big point for Kevin Guo now, going up by 2 points, 3-1, getting 2 serves back.
Mm-hmm.
Great return there. Wow, this is just mind-blowing. The talent that we get to see here at these Canada Games is outstanding. So 4-1 the score now. Ontario, timeout called by Quebec. Coach Maxime there in the corner giving his athletes a little pep talk, maybe a little bit of strategy. Same in the Ontario corner. Going to be very interesting now to see how this all unfolds. 4-1 here in this 5th and deciding game of this match. Deadlocked at 2. Here you see Team Maxime now. One thing I wanted to ask you about, you are very influential on bringing attention to initiatives to improve gender equality within the sport. Talk to us a little bit about that, Ivy, and the campaign that's been going on and some of the work that's been being done.
For sure. So I'm currently the secretary of Table Tennis Canada's Athletes Commission, and I also work closely with members of the Gender Equity Committee. And sport has changed my life, just to put that out there. And I really think that sports are something special that really benefit individuals and communities that are able to participate in them. And so a campaign that we recently launched is the Women in Table Tennis campaign, and that's where we feature nice rally there. And that's where we feature female identifying individuals who are heavily involved and heavily influential in the table tennis community across Canada. So recently, our most recent feature was Jessie Xu, who just won a gold medal in the women's teams event here. And Joaquin coming back strong. And so female representation matters. And that's something we're trying to highlight through this campaign, because we see a lot of, as female athletes grow, they face various challenges that perhaps their male counterparts don't face. And so by bringing awareness and highlighting this, that's just something we've been trying to do through the campaign and as an Athletes Commission and Gender Equity Committee as a whole. So it's great to be able to hear the stories of women involved in table tennis across the country, and we hope to be able to continue growing the sport.
Certainly a wonderful initiative. Certainly applaud you and wish you all the best in that campaign. And you're certainly right how important sport can be to families, communities, and people as individuals. You certainly nailed that on the head. So we wish you all the best in that, and we hope to hear more about it down the road.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Ravi.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we have a timeout here, this time on Ontario's side. He was up 4-1, and now Quebec leads 5-4.
We will see now how this all unfolds. Anticipation, the excitement is building here as we are getting deeper and deeper into this team competition. We're only in the third match. Still lots more to go. Well, we talked about conditioning there earlier. Certainly seeing it here now.
Maybe the quote shouldn't be the 100-meter dash. It should be like marathon or something like that.
Playing chess and checkers. What a return there by DeMille. Wow, it's a bad break off the net, but ties it up at 5. That's got to be a huge point for momentum.
It's always interesting to see how athletes adapt coming out of a timeout or out of the 1 minute break between sets, and looks like Kevin's off to a good start here.
So 6-5 now the score. I hate to make this pun over and over, but it's been so back and forth all afternoon here. It's unbelievable to see. Just never know who's going to take this one.
Ooh, clip the edge of the table there.
Now, Ivy, from your, trying to think of the best way to word this. From your experience and in your position, being certainly so accomplished in the sport, you see the hand go up, obviously, to sports, for sportsmanship, thanks, if it goes off the net or if it goes off the back. I can see the net, but I wonder why, and I'm sure there's a simple answer for this, but when I see that off the back, isn't that literally the perfect shot that you're trying to make? So I question why that is, you feel guilty about that.
I was actually having this conversation with someone who was new to table tennis just yesterday. And
well, you're 2 for 2.
Ooh, a half long there, difficult shot. And yeah, it's really interesting, and I don't know if I have a concrete answer for that. I think it's just a cultural norm in a way that's become the norm internationally, and it's viewed as disrespectful if that hand does not go up after a net or an edge occurs.
Oh.
And so I personally think that
Certainly says a lot about the sport and
yeah,
how important etiquette is and sportsmanship.
what a rally
What a
here.
DeMille literally at the back and forth. Whoa, can't get to it, and Kevin Guo puts another point in the board. 9-8 the score now, Quebec leading. Getting closer and closer to that magic number at 11.
It's funny because the table seems so small, but they're really using up all of it here. Nine all.
Tie game.
2-2-9-9. A very difficult score to be at.
Remember that comment about 20 minutes ago? There's not much of a difference between 1 and 4. We're seeing it here play out.
So Joachim with the serve at 2-2-9-9, and he takes advantage of that. Now he's up 10-9.
So Joachim could finish this one off here. And there it is, Quebec takes control of this team matchup. 2 matches to 1. So we are going to a 4th game. There you see it, shaking hands and utmost respect for each other. Once again, shaking hands with the officials, shaking hands with the opposite coaches. And so we are going to go back now. We are going to see in our 4th match, Joachim DeMille taking on Jordan Gruel in singles competition. Quebec has the chance to seal the deal here and clinch that gold medal.
So that's what we were talking about earlier with the lineup order. So for Ontario, they had the Team A side, so they had their top-ranked player Jordan play matches 1 and 3, 2 and 4, with match 4 coming up right now.
Sure.
1 and 3 for singles matches, and on Quebec's side, we have Simeon, their top-ranked player, playing matches 2 and 5. So now we'll have Joachim play match 4 coming up right now.
Well, we talked about the importance of training and different ways of training. I'm sure cardio is a big part of that, and we're going to see some great demonstrations of it here. Here's another look at some of those great rallies in slow motion. Great work by our crew in the production truck, showing us just how precise these shots are, and unbelievable.
The athletes are so far from the table, and the shots they're putting on are so amazing. The athleticism is surreal to watch.
Well, you talked about the sport being big around the world. You mentioned Europe, you mentioned Asia. What are some of those specific countries in those regions where it is a big sport?
Yeah, so in Asia, a lot of countries, China, Japan, South Korea, even India, they have a lot of support dedicated to table tennis and a lot of success. I guess a little bit similar to our programs in perhaps hockey in Canada here. And I've had many conversations about this with various people throughout my journey in table tennis, and I think it's a combination of various things, including the popularity of the sport, how much media attention it gets, the financial and all the resources that go towards developing athletes and support staff within those sports. And it's the success that those countries have is very amazing and also inspiring to see. A lot of the athletes here, if you ask them who their role models in table tennis are or who their favorite athletes are, they identify some of the top players from those countries in Asia and Europe. And in Europe, we have countries like Germany, Austria, France, Sweden, all very top tier programs that they have in those countries for table tennis and developing and helping table tennis athletes thrive professionally and also on the junior stage before they reach that level. And yeah, so I think the systems that are in place play a big part in.
And like anything, corporate sponsorship must be a
Yeah.
huge part of it as well, and being able to get funding to the athletes so they can train. I'm sure that, well, you mentioned it over in Europe there, some are able to make a living playing table tennis, and you got to just imagine how much better that would make you, not having to worry about working a day job and just being able to train and put 100% of your focus into the sport and your craft. So very big difference, I'm sure, for a lot of different countries around the world and their opportunity to train, but certainly on the rise here in Canada. We're getting a great display of it here this afternoon. This team's competition has been nothing short of extraordinary. Can we take a break, guys? I think we got lots of time. So we are just letting the athletes prepare here now. We have our fourth match coming up here in this team competition. Jordan Gruel from Ontario taking on Joachim Duhamel. So don't go anywhere. That's coming up next. You are watching live action from the 2023 Canada Winter Games. It's table tennis team event coming up. Don't go anywhere.
Some plan to relax, and others look for adventure. But no matter your reason for visiting, one thing's guaranteed. From the moment you step on this island, you feel a little lighter. Come find your island, Prince Edward Island. From the moment you step on this island, you feel a little lighter. Come find your island, Prince Edward Island.
Welcome back, everybody, to our ongoing coverage here at the 2023 Canada Winter Games, live right here on CBC Gem. What a great match. If you're just joining us, this is the team events. I'm joined by Ivy Liao, no stranger to the game. You've been around. So Quebec leading 2-1. What can we expect here in this all-important fourth match coming up here in men's singles action?
Once again, I think we can expect some fantastic table tennis. Both of these athletes are very warm now. They both played one doubles match that went to 5 and one singles match. Joachim's match just now also went to 5, and Jordan had a tough match. That was the second match of this team matchup against Simeon Martin from Quebec. And so now if Joachim is able to win this individual match, Quebec will win 3-1 and take home the gold.
And if they don't, if Ontario is successful in being victorious, we are going to sudden death. The gold medal on the line.
In Game 5, that would be Kevin against Simeon Martin. And that will be, looking at the rankings and how the tournament has played out so far, a challenge for Ontario if it does go to 5, because Simeon is higher ranked, is the highest ranked athlete here at this competition, and also very experienced. So it's funny when you said earlier the all-important set, because it really feels like every set, every point, every match here is so crucial.
I know. I mean, only a gold medal on the line.
Only a gold
medal, yeah.
At the Canada Games.
At the Canada Games.
Just the biggest sporting event in Canada. No big deal.
No, NBD. So it looks like we're getting set here and getting warmed up. Joaquin Demille just off the court himself, so we'll see how that stamina prevails. But sometimes, you know, we talked about how hard these athletes train. They're in tip-top shape, so they know what to expect. They're used to this, not their first rodeo, as they say. And sometimes it could be an advantage to keep that momentum going, and you get somebody, you know, cold off the bench who might take them a few points to settle in. You could get that early advantage there. You see Quebec going up 1-0 early as Demille gets that first point. How often is this teams event played in table tennis? Is this something new to the game? Has it been around for a long time? Or is this something that they're used to? Or tell us a little bit about that.
It's been around for a long time.
Okay.
This teams event is very common in both domestic and international competitions, and it's often one of the athletes' favorite because as an individual sport, table tennis can often be lonely. And so being able to be a part of a team, cheer each other on, have people in your corner just supporting you through and through, very special. It's personally my favorite event. And so just watching the athletes compete here with their teams by their side, cheering them through the ups and the downs, and living with them through the ups and downs, I think is a very special experience, especially here at the Canada Games.
It's a great point. You hear that quite often from different sports. We kind of heard one of our experts in aerials the other day say that you know, skiing like table tennis, you're by yourself out there on the playing conditions going down the hill, and having the chance to compete as a team, which is very exciting for these provinces. And the other point you made, that being able to cheer on, there's been no lack of cheering from either corner. Another comment I'm going to make to you, Ivy, as someone brand new to the sport, I love the intensity out there. I love when they make a point. There's some athletes have different routines than others, but there's the big and the big charge, and they're proud, as they should be. I mean, this is big. So Demille with an early lead here, up 6-3. Made that point in our discussion earlier about how sometimes, even though you might be, well, supposed to be tired, what the textbook would say, but it doesn't look like he's really yawning like I would be if I just finished, 3 points, let alone three or five games. But getting someone off the bench and, perhaps not being as dialed in as he will be this time next game sort of thing. So getting off to that early start, looks like Joaquin Demille has done that well. Very appreciative crowd here on hand as well. Not been many points where they're not clapping their hands and making noise. It's great cheering these athletes on. What a return there on the backhand.
Wow.
Oh, goes cross court. Wow. So 9-4 now, DeMille. The big lead for Team Quebec. Looking to take an early set in this, or an early lead in this singles match. Off the net there, so we'll redo that serve. Not able to get it over that time as DeMille, so showing a little bit of frustration. We'll see him bounce back. And there you have it, 11-6. So Quebec off to a big start here, taking a big an early lead here in this match. 1-0. If you're on the bench for Ontario right now, you're down 2 matches to 1 in this team's competition. 1-0. Back starting to get a little closer to that wall. What are you telling your athletes?
It's tough, but what my coaches have said to me at times like this is there's nothing left to lose. You got to go for it. You got to stay aggressive. You got to stay in the moment. You got to stay in the game. You can't think about losing. You can't think about what would happen if you win. You just got to go for it. And I think the more oftentimes athletes can spiral mentally in situations like these, and they end up thinking about other things that are not the strategy in the moment, in the now. And so I think focusing on what's at hand, focusing on what Jordan can do to come back in this match and tie the score at 2-2, that's what's on his mind right now. And we'll see how he's able to do.
So here we go. Game number 2 starting out here. Quebec with the serve. Want to give a big shout out to Curtis and Cam, the production truck, all the great crew here. Who tries to go behind the back is DeMille. Just gonna have a little fun here for a second, Ivy. Is there any trick shots in table tennis?
Oh yeah, if you search up on YouTube or Google table tennis trick shots, there will be a lot of content that will come up, and really cool, interesting content that even as someone who's been playing the sport for over almost 15 years, I cannot do a lot of it. So go check it out if you haven't.
Well, what a rally here. There you have it, into the net now. So 3-1 Ontario, bouncing back here. Jordan Gruel. Will Doherty, if you're listening, it's my 8-week-old son. That feed tonight at 3 a.m., I know what we're watching. There's a point there for Quebec, so cutting that lead down to 1 now, 3-2. Quebec getting that all-important serve here. So 3-3 the score. Quebec able to come back and tie things up here in this game. 1-0. They lead in this match.
Wow.
What a shot by Grohl on the other side of the table. Looks like one of those moments where they pick their spot and just make no mistake.
Oh yeah. And that's where that strategy comes in. Like that shot right there.
Anything you can do, I can do better. You gotta wonder when the sport gets to the point where they just have 2 rackets in the hands. That would be a bold strategy. Not sure if it would pay off or not. Here we go, 5-5. Deadlocked here in this game. Oh, not able to hit the table, so 6-5. Quebec bounces all the way back. And they take a 6-5 lead here in this game. 6-6.
And I know a lot of people who are new to the sport of table tennis, especially at a competitive level, they always wonder why the serve looks the way it does. And there are a lot of rules to the serve, actually, and if those rules aren't followed, umpires can call those serves. So, for example, some of the rules that need to be followed are having the ball on the palm of a flat hand, tossing the ball up 6 inches. Wow, that was beautiful. And yeah, so for any of you that are wondering, that's why the serve looks the way it is.
I'm just going to scratch that question off my list that I was going to ask you. Because I think for somebody, to add to that, somebody very new to the sport like myself who hasn't watched a whole lot of table tennis in his lifetime, you would assume that they would try to go for power and but at this level, obviously, you know, athletes aren't scared of power at this point. So. Not like a battle in the basement where you try to be the alpha male, hit it as hard as you can. Something I was never very good at. 9-6, Quebec leading. Nine-7 now. Both sides getting closer to that all-important number 11. Ontario trying to tie this match up at 1 game apiece. He goes long, so that puts Quebec at 10. 1 point away from taking a commanding lead in this match. What have you seen so far in Demills from Quebec, his performance compared to his last match?
I think the fact that he is able to come out so strong despite just being pushed to a 5-setter less than, 10 minutes ago is very remarkable and shows the strength and the physical fitness and mental strength that he has as an athlete. And I think coming out, there's pressure on both sides, as we talked about extensively throughout the match so far. Being up 2-1 can come with advantages, and you know that there's one more chance if this match doesn't go well, where your teammate also, who's very strong, has the opportunity to also win the gold medal for Team Quebec. However, Joachim evidently isn't overthinking it. Now that he's up 2-0, he's definitely been able to persevere and stay strong and stick to the strategy that he and his coach have identified. And so I think that really speaks to his strength and experience as an athlete. And I think just here, even as an athlete, I'm very inspired and learning a lot.
So here we go now. Team Ontario with that all-important serve. Jordan Gruel trying to get himself back in this match here. And off to a good start, gets the first point, gets himself on the board. Going back to your last point there about the advantages of being up 2-1 in the match, it obviously... Ooh, nice point there. It obviously gives you a chance to perhaps get a little bit more brave, a little more aggressive. It's not do or die, where for Ontario right now, it is do or die. You know, they're 1 game away from losing the gold. So you got to wonder if that also played into Joachim Duril's strategy here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic to balance, because he can be aggressive, but he can't be reckless. I was telling my athletes when I was coaching them a few days ago that there's a thin line between being aggressive in your playing style and being reckless. And I think watching the match here it's very interesting to see how they're able to stay within that line so well. And so I think he's still quite aggressive, and so is Jordan. And I think something interesting that I also noted is usually during those long rallies, whoever's closer to the table is usually the one being more aggressive, and they usually end up winning that point. And so both athletes have their strategies in place, and we'll see how the match continues.
Well, it's been one for the ages thus far. If you're going to decide a gold medal, this is the kind of match you want.
Wow.
What a return there by DeMille in Quebec. Wow. So 4-3. And there you go, tie game now. Quebec with 2 unanswered points. So Ontario bounces back, answers the big point there to go up 5-4. I want to give a big shout out to my local mentor in table tennis, Mr. Todd Gregory. He gave me some pointers to get ready for this broadcast. He's tuned in from home with the family. So hello, Todd. Thank you for all your help, my friend. I want to say a big hello to all of you tuning in here on CBC Gem. It's been one for the ages, as we mentioned earlier. DeMille now from Quebec. Looking to put this match away. What a rally, and into the net, and there you go.
The amount of spin on that chop from Joachim just now from far away, incredible.
Todd is also a former Canada Games athlete, so went to school together. He was nice enough to share some points with me and give me some things to watch for. So
that's wonderful.
It's great about, we made the point earlier, living in Prince Edward Island. You probably know somebody who did something in the whether it's the sport or the field of work, so try to use it to my advantage. And I'll tell you what, this has been one day that I will never forget here at the Canada Games. 7-5 the score now. Team Quebec just 4 points away from not only winning the singles match, but winning this team event and the gold medal. You can see the tension rising here in each corner, going, talking to their individual support staffs, coaching staffs. Great crowd on hand. There's no secret, Ivy. Everybody here knows what's at stake. Seven, 5.
We can see Joachim jumping, keeping warm, staying active, and keeping your feet moving is such an important part of table tennis, making sure you're always on the move, getting to the right position for your next shot, crucial to being able to execute the shots that you practiced so hard leading up to this competition.
So Jordan Gruel with the serve.
Wow. Jordan set himself up for that attack very well there. And once again, now we're tied at 7-all.
Just like that. Can change so fast. So let's see how DeMille responds. Back and forth on the backhand, Ontario. Not able to put it on the table, so Quebec, 8-7 now. 3 points away from the gold medal. And once again, there's 9-7. We're down to 2 as an athlete, Ivy. When you know you're starting to close in, how important is it to just stay focused and stay in the moment?
So important. So important not to overthink. The score is there, but every point can make a huge difference at this stage. So the amount of focus that's present here, amazing.
Oh, there it is, 10-8. Game point, match point, gold medal point. It's exciting. You can see the crowd starting to come alive. Cell phones are out. Quebec with the serve. Can't quite get to that one, so Ontario not backing off. 10-9 now the score.
Timeout from Quebec at this crucial moment.
It would be some points that Coach Maxime would be telling his players now.
Sometimes at this point it's a specific strategy to execute, either with the serve or with the service receive. Sometimes it's talking about mindset, how to approach this very important point. And we talk about how important every point, every set, every match is. This could, a gold medal at the Canada Games, that could be a career-changing moment.
It sure could. So we'll see how this plays up. Buckle up, everybody. 10-9. Quebec, match point. Let's see where we end up after this. Joaquin Demille with the serve. Race cross table, there it is! Your 2023 Canada Winter Games gold medalists in the team event in table tennis. Team Quebec, and the celebrations are underway. You see the crowd on their feet. Lots of hugs from the coaches all the way around, and a great effort by Ontario. And what a matchup, Ivy. Take us through it. We've said it many times. I wouldn't say I'm the most experienced one in the room here, but to me, that was just one for the ages, full of excitement from start to finish.
Yes, that was an incredible match to watch. Congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to the silver medalists. Very well played match from beginning all the way to end. And so we had matches go to 5. We had players play back-to-back matches. It was not easy on both sides for all 4 athletes and all 2 coaches, so they should all be so proud of themselves. And now we see them throwing balls out to the crowd as souvenirs.
There you see some of the women's athletes out as well to join, and the hugs continue. I know we talk about so often how special the Canada Games are with all the arts and culture involved, the events that parents and athletes can take part in, but at the end of the day, it is a sports competition, and this is what it's all about, the gold medal. And here they are, so proud of themselves, lots of pats on the back. You just think back, go back, take a trip down memory lane for these athletes, all the hours and hours and early mornings and late nights of training, and not stopping at the drive-thru on the way home and eating clean. Just sacrificing the things that a lot of teenagers perhaps don't sacrifice, and they see their friends doing it. All those sacrifices made, it's all worth it here now. As you said, this could be a career-changing win for not just the winning team, all 4 of these athletes we saw out here this afternoon.
Such a special moment. I feel so privileged to be able to witness it and be here commentating with you, Robbie. And for all of you watching, thanks for joining in.
Well, listen, Ivy, you were terrific. It was absolutely my pleasure to have you on the broadcast. We're not done yet. We're going to give out some hardware. So I'm not sure what your plans are, but you're more than welcome to stick around here for the remainder of the broadcast. But it's been absolutely terrific. Right now, we are just going to take a quick break. We are going to be back. We're going to give out some medals here live from the PEI Convention Center at the Delta by Marriott in beautiful Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. It's the 2023 Canada Winter Games live on CBC Gem.
We're in. For home. For favorite spots. For taking the scenic route. For taking good care. We're in. For big surprises. For new possibilities. For good times. Every year, 100% of profits stay here in Atlantic Canada. We're in for supporting things like healthcare and education and giving back to our communities. Learn how at askaway.ca.
Some plan to relax, and others look for adventure. But no matter your reason for visiting, one thing's guaranteed. From the moment you step on this island, you feel a little lighter. Come find your island, Prince Edward Island.
There you have it. Photos, smiles, big celebration here as we just witnessed Team Quebec taking home the gold medal in team play here at table tennis here at the Canada Winter Games. What an exciting matchup it was. We saw a little bit of everything. 3-1 was the final score. Quebec defeating Ontario, but Ontario certainly has nothing to hang their heads about. A well-fought game, a well-fought battle. Unfortunately, in sports, there has to be a winner. Certainly no losers in that game. And there you get a look at the women's athletes from Quebec taking part in the celebrations with their male counterparts. Big look there at Siméon Martin. Big part of that competition today with a big singles win earlier on over Jordan Gruel of Ontario. And there you see the sportsmanship. Ivy has left the broadcast. She's gone to join her team. She's a team manager with Team British Columbia. So a huge thanks to Ivy Liao for that. It was so special to have her with us on the broadcast, sharing her expertise. Very accomplished player, not only nationally but internationally as well. So great to have her lend a hand here and share her thoughts. There you get a look at the venue down here in the beautiful Prince Edward Island Convention Center in downtown Charlottetown, the provincial capital. So getting some tables out of the way. We're going to try to stay with us here, or with you here, to give out some medals. We're just being told the bronze medal match is not wrapped up yet down at the other end of the room. Looks like Team BC taking on Team British Columbia. Great look at the stands. It was a capacity crowd on hand to witness that final game. Certainly everybody, no matter where you're from, what color jackets you're wearing, what province is on the back, everybody was certainly showing their appreciation for what had transpired. If you're just joining us, Quebec taking home gold in the men's team event in table tennis. On a personal note, just want to say what a great experience it's been for me to see this sport so close. We had the privilege of being right beside the table. We're going to take a quick break here. We are going to come back to the action. Don't go anywhere. It's live coverage from the 2023 Canada Winter Games on CBC Gem. Don't go away.
This place, arriving here is like coming home. That old familiar feeling and a restless spirit to roam. It's a place of new discoveries that's been waiting here for you. In every breath of wind and grain of sand, one island voice speaks through.
Sunshine on my skin, sunshine on my skin.
This is the place we come together, a place of celebration and pride, a place to take a chance and let your senses be your guide. This is a land of adventures, big and small, and quiet moments to wonder at the beauty of it all. This place, Epiclet. It goes by many names. It speaks in colors on canvas and in nature, cradled on the waves. This island moves at its own pace, and it's up to you to give chase. Because this place rocks and it reels. It's the place to do whatever you feel. From tip to tip, there's so much to uncover. So many textures and tastes to discover. The eternal moments of another island summer. This place, this island, it's in all our shared memories, in every blissful smile, and in all the old stories. This place, this island, it's for you and for me. This place, this island, it's where your spirit can be free. Come find your island. Prince Edward Island.
From the moment you step on this island, you feel a little lighter. Come find your island. Prince Edward Island.
À chaque année, on fait jamais le tour quand on fait ce qu'on aime. Nouveau défi. Une nouvelle vue sur chaque seconde. Une nouvelle vue sur le monde. Et ça semble être la fin, n'est que le début d'une nouvelle aventure. Les limites sont dans ta tête. Ose, tu vas voir, le temps s'arrête. Oui, pour une meilleure forme et une meilleure vie. Sport Expert, d'ici.
Dipped, drizzled, sandwiched, sprinkled, or straight up. There's a million ways to enjoy Cavendish Farms fries, but only one way to make them the right way. Grown, picked, washed, chopped, checked, and packed up just right. Cavendish Farms, made our way, enjoyed your way.
Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. In the meantime, we're getting ready to hand out some medals for part of our medal ceremony here at the table tennis at the Delta Prince Edward in the PEI Convention Center. So, in the meantime, we're just finishing up the bronze medal game. So, feel free to sit back, enjoy the action. We're going to bring it to you live. Here's BC and Manitoba. Enjoy. We'll check back in momentarily.
Merci d'avoir choisi ping-pong.
Ils m'ont choisi aussi pour être si pas francophone. Si c'est pareil, après, là, on va rester, on va faire la.
Je vais leur dire qu'ils viennent ici en premier.
match égal 2-2 de la Colombie-Britannique. Manitoba. Pour la médaille de bronze. Le Britannique en bleu qui mène 6-2. Service. Showing the final bronze medal. Oh yeah. Put a camera there.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know the score.
We're showing it.
I think it's over now.
BC just won. So gold medal, medal men is Quebec, Ontario, BC. And women is Ontario, Québec, BC. Il montrait la. Comment? Moi, il y avait une caméra.
Ah ouais?
C'est correct, les faits du soir.
Look, I don't mind talking.
Stoked would have thought about that one. I don't know how to use that mic. Got 7 or 8 in the closet, but I can do like that. I don't understand. They're doing themselves a lot of favors to bring bids out of it.
And would all players, medal recipients, please report to the control area in 5 minutes, 5-minute warning. Thank you.
Boy, Tony.
Somebody should leave things down.
Now we're just
Just put them down. Just put these down. that before. Mesdames et messieurs, la cérémonie de remise des médailles. Les médailles seront remises par Rémi Tanrier.
Not this time. Last time was.
All right, you want me to hop back on? Welcome back, everybody, here to the Prince Edward Island Convention Center on CBC Gem. It's the official medal ceremony here live. It's the team event at the table tennis competition. It's been a great afternoon of action all day. So many great shots, so many great games and matches, competitions. Here you get a look at the podium. It's what all these athletes dream of standing on, and some will get to live their dreams here today.
Fier fournisseur des médailles des Jeux d'hiver du Canada 2023. Veuillez accueillir nos médaillés pour les équipes de tennis de table féminine.
Great crowd on hand still here showing their support. There you get a look at the athletes. This is the women's team event as they make their way to the podium. There's Team Quebec finishing with the silver medal. Ontario, your gold medalists in the middle, as well as Team BC, who just recently won the bronze.
On behalf of the 2023 Canada Winter Games, Thorsten Bull, board member for Table Tennis Canada, will now present the bronze, silver, and gold medals. Au nom des Jeux d'hiver du Canada 2023, Thorsten Bull, membre du Conseil Tennis du Canada, présentera maintenant les médailles de bronze, d'argent et d'or. Receiving the bronze medal is Sophia Lai and Louise Pham, British Columbia.
Well, there you have it, your bronze medalist team, British Columbia. Great showing. I had the pleasure of calling their match this morning, booking their tickets into the bronze medal game. Exciting to say the least. Great moment there as they accept those bronze medals. All the hard work, training's finally paid off for so many of these athletes. There's a big smile, so proud of themselves.
Is Alice Papaché et Melina Nordalegum, Quebec.
Silver medalists from Quebec now taking their stance on the podium, receiving their silver medals. You see the pride overflowing everywhere. Beautiful medals this year being presented here in Prince Edward Island. Awaiting the arrival of our 2023 gold medalists in the team's event, and there are the tears. You can see the pride. So many hours gone into this, and you can just see happiness on their face. Your Canada Winter Games gold medalists in table tennis in the team event, Team Ontario, as they take those gold medals. Great capacity crowd still on hand, showing their appreciation for all these athletes and the hard work that has gone into this. And little congratulations from their opponents, and now they can take the moment in, as they say. Great applause for all these athletes as they stand for photo ops. Big high fives there from one another. They were competitors on the court, but they're off the court now. And I had the pleasure of having Ivy Liao, a team manager for British Columbia, on the broadcast with me during this gold medal match this afternoon. And she was telling me about how close of a family that the whole table tennis circuit is in Canada. So no doubt they're supporting one another here tonight. Special moments. So there's your women's medals being awarded. Gold for Ontario, silver for Quebec, and bronze for British Columbia.
The medal presentation for the sport of table tennis is brought to you by Tech, proud Canada Games medal supplier of the 2023.
And now, just getting ready to bring in the men's teams here to get on the podium.
Table tennis men's teams. La remise des médailles de tennis de table nous est offerte par Tech, fier fournisseur des médailles des Jeux d'hiver du Canada 2023. Veuillez accueillir nos médaillés pour les équipes de tennis de table masculine.
So here they come, the men's medalists. Here the table tennis team event being led by Ontario. Closer look at these competitors. Bronze medal being awarded first. I'm going to see that go to Team British Columbia.
Robbie Chan, board member for Table Tennis Canada, will now present the bronze, silver, and gold medals. Au nom des Jeux d'hiver du Canada 2023, Robbie Chan, membre du Conseil tennis du Table Canada, présentera maintenant les médailles de bronze, d'argent et d'or. Receiving the bronze medal is David Mandelstam and Zongkong Lee, British Columbia.
There you see Team British Columbia on the podium. Getting their bronze medals, you can see the happiness in their faces, all the hard work. Training has paid off for these athletes.
Receiving the silver medal is Kevin Guo and Jordan Grewal, Ontario.
There they are, Team Ontario. Saw them in action, hard-fought battle in a loss to Team Quebec, but so back and forth. Talk about a game that could have went either way. And they're proud of their silver medals. Taking those back home to Ontario. Big look of pride.
Receiving the gold medal is Team Simeon Martin et Joachim Desmeules, Quebec.
Here comes your gold medalists in table tennis, the team event, Team Quebec.
Congratulations to all the medalists. Please let's know.
And there you get a look at your medalists here in the table tennis team event, the 2023 Canada Winter Games. Now you're seeing the ladies athletes joining them on the floor. Very special moment for all these athletes. All standing side by side. Only 3 flags needed. Standing now for the national anthem. Well, there you have it. The medals have been giving out. It's been a huge day here at the table tennis team event. We hope you enjoyed the coverage. Thank you so much for joining us here on CBC Gem. We have ongoing coverage of the 2023 Canada Winter Games all week. So, thank you once again. It's been a day for the memory books. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Lots of great action coming up live from Charlottetown. It's the 2023 Canada Winter Games in Prince Edward Island. Good night.
Welcome to Canada Games House, presented by Canadian Tire, a place where Canada Games athletes, their families, friends, and special guests come together to celebrate, have fun, and relax during the games. Suivez-moi, allons voir. There are different spaces within Canada Games House. A lounge for casual fun and games, a studio for large team events, and a room for private gatherings. When you come to Canada Games House, the first thing that you're going to feel is a warm welcome. Within these walls, we'll welcome, accept, and respect everyone. Donc la règle la plus importante, c'est de traiter tout le monde avec du respect et de la gentillesse. This beautiful hall is a main gathering space. In here we got board games, video games, live streaming Canada Games action on massive TVs, snacks, drinks, alumni appearances, team days, and special guests. Il y a toujours quelque chose à faire et vous ne savez jamais qui vous pouvez croiser.
It's great just to be able to come here and relax. There's so much to do and just hang out and spend time with the family. It's great.
I have to be honest, this is a vision that we've had for a really long time. We recognize how much it takes for athletes to get to the Canada Games, how much their families and friends contribute to their mental health, their physical health. To create a space that we can actually celebrate friends and family is incredible, and to be honest, we couldn't have done it without Canadian Tire. Nous sommes ravis d'avoir ce partenariat avec Canadian Tire. Finalement, on a un endroit, la Maison des Jeux du Canada, où nous pouvons célébrer la famille.
It's so exciting to see all the athletes and be able to celebrate the next generation of Canadian athletes and their families. Honoring the friends and family of these athletes has been so important to us, and providing them this space at Canada Games House is really why we did it.
Thank you, Canadian Tire, for your support in making Canada Games House a reality. You're making the Canada Games experience that much better for the Canada Games athletes, their families, and their friends. Donc, au revoir et profitez de votre séjour aux Jeux du Canada.